Well, my name is Sarah. I turned 18 last month, April 25th. I'm pretty normal, average 18-year-old girl. I go to school, I do things like play music, and I also play sports, things like track, soccer. I play the guitar also, and I also edit, and I would like to pursue film and psychology in the future. Hopefully maybe get my master's in psychology one day, and then maybe make a psychological documentary. That is like one of my goals. I also have this thing called albinism, which is probably the most unique and significant thing about me. It's one of the things that I use as a conversation starter a lot, just because people will always find it interesting, I think. For the people who don't know what it is, I guess I can explain it really briefly. Albinism is a genetic mutation that occurs and causes someone to have a lack of melanin in their hair, skin, and eyes, and it also causes a visual impairment for a lot of people. It kind of varies with every person, but me personally, I have a visual acuity of at least 20/200, so I'm classified as legally blind, which is cool because I get the Wonderland Disability Pass. Growing up, it kind of caused a few different issues for me. It was really hard to learn things like spelling, especially in the Philippines, just because it was really hard to tell my teacher like, hey, I can't see, because it wasn't normal. And so I would have a really hard time with trying to catch up with what we were doing at the time. Or even with friends and stuff, I couldn't laugh at anything that they were laughing at in the distance. And it was also really hard to find family relatives when we were out. Like one time I got lost at Canada's Wonderland because I was following this guy based on the color of his shirt, thinking he was my dad, and he wasn't. So little things like that kind of caused me a lot of trouble growing up. But you kind of learn how to adjust as you grow up. So now I'm here.
Has your condition stopped you from pursuing different activities?
I would say so. It's a really unfortunate thing, but seeing is really important for basically everything in everyday life. So especially with things like hobbies and taking interest in something that I might not be able to do. Yeah, it's given me a lot of challenges because I can't do basic things that everyone else is doing. Like a lot of my peers are learning how to drive now. I don't think I'll ever be able to drive just because I can't see street signs and stuff like that. I also won't be able to do anything or have any hobbies that involve really far away distances. Like I can't fish because I can't see like where the fish might be, or I won't ever be able to ride a boat or drive a boat just because you have to be able to tell where the rocks are. I can't do that. I also really love stars, but I have a really hard time stargazing. So little things like that is the kind of challenges that I face. But I don't think I'll ever limit myself to saying that anything is impossible necessarily. I'll always say that I have difficulty with something, but I always try not to say that I can't ever do something. With the things that I did end up pursuing, things like sports and soccer and playing the guitar and music and stuff like that, a lot of the difficulties kind of come with like less the social stuff, more the physical stuff. So for example, when I'm playing soccer, it's really kind of hard to tell where my teammates are, especially if there's like a glare in my eye. It's really hard to tell even though I can see color really clearly. It's kind of just hard to tell where everyone is, and also my depth perception is probably the worst part of my vision. It's not necessarily that things are blurry, it's just I can't tell when something is coming toward me or if it's going up. With things like playing the guitar and stuff like that, when I'm playing a song and I'm following a tab, it's really hard to see things like the notes and what string the note is on because it's too far away from me for me to see and play at the same time. And in terms of visual stuff as well, virtual stuff as well, things like editing kind of strain my eyes a little bit more because a lot of the things that I edit have finer details. And if I'm looking at something and I'm editing a lot of effects, I want to make sure that every single frame is perfect. But it's kind of hard to tell when you have a really hard time seeing really small details.
What adjustments have you made to face these challenges?
Well, it took some time, I think, but I was pretty patient with it. That's the main thing that I kind of focused on. But in terms of adjusting, a lot of it is kind of just knowing when to ask for help, especially when it's playing sports, like team collaborative sports especially. So when it comes to soccer, I just communicate with my teammates a lot too. So they know to call out for me and they know to say things rather than to like physically kind of point to things. So rather than being like, oh, like go up like this, they'll say it and they'll yell for me. And in terms of playing the guitar, I've learned how to just make tabs bigger on like either my phone or an iPad or something like that, or to just do things on my computer, like pull up tabs on my computer. It makes it a lot easier. And I've also learned to kind of memorize where the fretboards are, or where the frets are on the fretboard, just because it makes it easier. So I go by muscle memory rather than trying to see constantly. And in terms of editing as well, the really cool thing about computers is that you can make shortcuts for everything. So when I don't know where my cursor is, I don't want to have to scan my whole screen for it. So I turn on the finder for it. Whenever I hold down control, he just like immediately finds where my cursor is, even if it's on my second monitor, which is really cool. Please don't look at my emails. So rather than trying to do everything based on what I can see, I can do everything based on keys, and I've memorized all of that. But like little adjustments here and there, they help a lot. They go a really long way. They make everything go faster and smoother. So.
What moment did you realize this condition did not define you?
Well, there's been a few different moments throughout my childhood and throughout my current life, but I think that the parts and moments that stood out to me the most is when I got my own sense of validation throughout my own achievements. So doing certain things like getting academic awards ever since I was like 6, and playing sports just as well as any of my other peers, and having people tell me like, oh, you're really good. And then them finding out I can't see, they're like, wait, what? You can't see? Yet you're playing just as well, or you're just as academically inclined as everyone else. Like that, I think, to me, really kind of encouraged me to keep things going the way they are. I don't think I've ever really tried to use my disability as an excuse for anything, just because, you know, even though everything is difficult, I feel like I can do everything just as well as other people. And yeah.
What do people often tell you because of your condition?
Oddly enough, it's never been like a bullying type thing. I think people kind of, one, just underestimate me, but they also ask if I need help a little bit too much, which kind of coddles me a little bit and makes me feel like I'm inferior in a way. But not only that, but I feel like one of the main things that people have told me is like, oh, but can you even do that? Which is like a really awkward thing. And one of the things that I absolutely hate that people say, but I get it quite often, is oh, you'd be so good if you could see. Or like, whoa, you're really amazing at this now. Now imagine if you could see. And that's one of the things that kind of hurts the most. But it's like one of the things that people say the most. So I don't mind it. It's just kind of instinctual. Because like, yeah, I take it as kind of like a backhanded compliment. A lot of it is kind of just pushing through it, I guess. And knowing that no matter how much I try, like I'm not gonna really be able to see it. And as sad as that kind of is, it's kind of like, it's given me the chance to kind of accept it and also use it in ways that I feel like a lot of people won't expect. But the way to overcome it is kind of just, one, I feel like have a really good set of friends. That's one of the things that have really helped me the most, is I've had a really good supportive set of friends. But also kind of just realizing that your biggest enemy is yourself. And just because you might have something like a physical disability doesn't necessarily mean that you can't go out there and do everything else just as well as everyone. Kind of like how I mentioned before. I've never been the type to want to sit down and just stay still. And so being able to do the things that I can with everything else that I have. Like, just because I can't see doesn't mean I can't run. So why wouldn't I go out for a run? Do you get what I mean? Take advantage of everything you have. Don't focus on what you don't have. Just because I can't see doesn't mean I can't play soccer. Just because I can't see doesn't mean I can't listen to music and I can't make my own music. So, I don't know, get up, do something. I'm sure everyone has a talent they don't know they have yet. Is that a wrap?
It's a wrap.
That's a wrap! Wait. Yay!